Hey, my name's Evade, and around a month ago, I was looking through the top anime of all time on my anime list. I realized just how much it's changed since I'd first looked at it back in around 2016. There were a lot of shows which I disagreed with their placement on the list, so I got curious. What is the most overhyped anime? This won't be based just on their placement on my anime list. Instead, I'll be using the most indisputable and accurate metric possible, my opinion. So what I did was I asked my Discord server, join the Discord, for some contending animes and put my own picks in the mix. And then at the end, I'll take my pick at what I think is the anime most deserving of the title most overhyped anime. So stick around to the end for that. But before we start, I've got quite a few videos I'm working on at the moment. If you've watched my streams or been in the Discord, you'd know what they are. So sub to find out when those go live. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Thank you. Enjoy the video. Double fake out. Whoa. Just before we get into the list itself, I want to give a dishonorable mention to waifu shows. You know the ones. They often got a ton of hype just because of the hot anime mommies in them. Anywho, I'm not going to waste any more time. First contending show, Gurren Lagann. I will not elaborate. Up next is going to get some people angry, but hear me out, okay? Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Okay, calm down. Look, I have to put this on the list. It's consistently at the top of the list on my anime list, and there's so many people that call this the best shonen of all time. It really gets nothing but hype. That's why it's here. All I care about is that if it lives up to that hype, and it does. In full fairness to the show, it's fantastic. One of the best out there, in fact. The amount of praise it receives from the community definitely feels deserved, but regardless, as a consistent #1, I had to do it. I had to put it on the list. SAO. This definitely used to be a contender for the top spot, but it's been torn down into the ground since the rise of the isekai, so I don't really think I need to waste much time on this one. It's not great, but since the passing of time, it's no longer at the top of the overhyped list, I don't think. Dragon Ball was great for its time, but it's still incredibly popular despite its age. Does it hold up though? No, it doesn't. Anime needed Dragon Ball, don't get me wrong, but since it came out, the game has completely changed. Shonen would not be what it is without the inspiration Dragon Ball gave everybody, but it's just not good anymore. Despite being objectively asked by today's standards, it's still got a fan base that swears by it being amazing. Most overhyped? I don't know about that, but overhyped for sure. I still like it though, despite Super being really fucking shit. However, I don't like Spy Family. With characters being as boring and generic as possible, I really don't understand why out of everything that's come out, this is the show that's taken so much of the community by storm. Actually, that's a lie. I do know it's because of this fucking gremlin. With how loved it is, you'd assume it's got a pretty killer story, but the story actually never goes anywhere. There's a whole lot of nothing happening the entire way through that the only possible thing to love is the characters, but I just can't. They're so one-dimensional. I've seen them in a million other shows. This one's a head scratcher. Definitely deserves to be on the list. Nate likes it though. I'm not done pissing people off though. Jujutsu Kaisen is also on the list. Oh my god, I said that so fucking fast. This show is pretty much a copy and paste shonen. It's really nothing new. The world is very hollow feeling and the story is just as original as any other shonen. The big thing I've heard from the fan base is that the animation is incredible. And to its credit, it's pretty good during the fights, until it's not. Sometimes the animation just gets pretty wonky feeling and just weird looking. The movie is the worst of it. That shit almost got me motion sick with all the fucking spinning shots. And then you just have the characters. Honestly, they're just copy pasted from other shonens. I mean, you could pretty much just replace all the characters with the Naruto counterpart and they'd be the exact same. Speaking of Naruto, that's next. This show's a lot of people's first, and it was the first anime I really fell in love with and bought merchandise for. Unlike the last couple of shows I talked about, Naruto actually has moments of being incredible. Pain vs. Naruto is still one of my favorite anime fights, and that arc in general was just top tier. But then there's the rest of the series. Naruto falls victim to a lot of the same problems other long-running shonen fall into. The power creep is disgusting, and the characters become irrelevant except for the main leads. You can actually kind of say this is the original anime with this issue. Boruto isn't included on here because everyone knows it's shit, but Naruto is pretty much the poster boy for mainstream anime. I think because of that, I kind of had to put it on the list here. The next entry, though, is an even longer running shonen, One Piece. Look, I'm trying not to be biased here. It's not just shows that I think are dookie, okay? I fucking love One Piece. It's my favorite manga of all time. But is the anime of the same quality? Early One Piece definitely is. I think the first half of the show is amazing. Post time skip though, it's not great. Wano is definitely picking up the slack, but man, Dressrosa is such a slog that it almost feels like it's not worth sitting through. One Piece definitely feels better when consumed as a manga past the time skip, but the attention it's gotten since COVID is insane. A lot of people suddenly had time to start One Piece, and now it's much more talked about than ever before here in the West. I don't think it's as good as the hype though. The anime, anyways. I gotta put it on here. Let's take a break from shonen though and look at the only movie I put on the list. Kimi No Na Wa, or Your Name, is definitely worthy of being up on the list with the other entries. When it came out, it received a ton of attention. It even came to theaters in the West when that wasn't very common for anime. I loved it, watched it multiple times even. It's a good film, but it wasn't even the best anime movie that came out that year. Not even a month later, A Silent Voice came out, and unfortunately, it got overshadowed by Your Name. While I think that Your Name is good, it was just outdone in pretty much every way by A Silent Voice, but it still got all the attention. I put it here, but I honestly don't think it'll be the winner. Getting back to shonen, let's talk a bit about Chainsaw Man. This is the most recent release on the list, and it definitely has to be on here. When you consider the amount of hype the show received from the manga, it feels like it could have never really won. I don't think the show is bad per se, but it definitely is not what it was hyped up to be. The comedy that I heard so much about just doesn't work in the show, and there's so many other issues that I can't go over all of them here. Overall, extremely disappointing despite all of the attention and praise it's receiving. It's gotta be on the list here. Let's piss off even more people though by talking about AOT next. This was my first actual anime, and season 1 is incredible. The OST is S tier, being one of anime's best OSTs ever. I don't really think that's debatable, but that's about all the praise I can give it. I get incredibly bored watching season 2 and 3, and season 4 was just a fucking mess. The ending is just so weird and unnecessary and just not what the show needed that it just kind of sucks ass. That's not just my opinion either. I know people that fucking love AOT and were devastated by the ending. Still though, the anime is so fucking hyped up that it's pretty much just as popular as Naruto is. I'm not even going to talk about the final season of the final part 1. Unlike AOT though, My Hero Academia has kind of fallen off in popularity. It was much more popular around the second and third season. While still incredibly popular, it's not quite at its peak anymore. The show is visually stunning, of course it is, it's made by Studio Bones, but when they get to the school sections, the show slows down and becomes incredibly boring. It does action well, it doesn't do slice of life well at all. The biggest detractor is the TikTok kids though. For some reason, they've really latched onto the show, but I'm doing everything that I can not to let that detract from the show itself. The cast of characters is also so large that it's impossible to give them all the proper time to shine, yet they still try to. The characters are also really easy to make gay. Oh, that's okay, yeah, that explains it. It still gets a ton of love, but I don't quite think it's deserving of the amount. Kind of like a kid having to see his divorced father love his new stepkid more than them. Definitely needs to be here. What? Bleach the 1,000-Year Blood Wars is not this good. Sure, the show looks fantastic, but like, the story? What? I feel like I'm going crazy. It's good, for sure, but I feel like there's just not enough of it to have it be this far up. I'm trying hard not to let my bias for the manga story come in here, but I don't think anything exceptional has happened yet. I don't know, this one's weird and definitely up here because of its hype, so I gotta include it. Kaguya-sama, for some reason, is really far up on my anime list. I don't think this show is bad, but this high? Really? The show is fine for what it is, but suffers from long-running romance tropes, aka nothing fucking happening. The romance keeps on getting dragged on and on and on and on. I feel like people have stopped wanting the story to end, so they've just kind of become okay with this. Sure, animation is good and comedy is alright, but it's definitely not a top 5 anime. A lot of people would say Demon Slayer is a top 5 anime though. Just like JJK, this can be attributed to the animation, except that unlike JJK, it's consistently top tier. I really like the fights in the show, but keeping the similarities with JJK, if you read the manga, it's just like any other shonen. The characters suck ass, the plot has been seen a few dozen times already, and the power system is just a sword version of chakra from Naruto. Nothing too offensive has happened in the anime yet, but knowing what's to come, I'm not looking forward to future seasons. Is it the most overhyped though? I don't know. The movie was all anyone talked about when it came out, so I had to put it on here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least is JoJo's Part 5. I love JoJo's, but in my opinion, Part 5 is the weakest part aside from Part 1. Yet for some reason, this is the part that everyone raves about. I think it's related to the music and also the time period in which it came out, because that was kind of when anime was really blowing up here. But otherwise, JoJo kind of fucking sucks. He's my least favorite JoJo. I don't dislike Part 5 by any means, but is it really worth that much hype? Part 6 finished recently, and in my opinion, it's just so much better. Let's not even get into Part 4, which came before it, which is almost a perfect 10 out of 10. I don't know, I felt like I had to include Part 5 despite my love for the series. I'm not biased, see, I'm not biased, I swear I'm not biased. So that's it, that's the list. But what show is the winner, loser? I don't really know which one to use here, but you get the point. Well, I actually really had to think about this, and to fuck with people trying to skim through the video just to get the answer. I see you. I won't show any of the footage of the show I picked. I will start by eliminating some options though. Fullmetal Alchemist, Gurren Lagann, Naruto, Kaguya-sama, One Piece, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball, Kimi No Na Wa, and SAO. While I do think these shows are worth being considered, they do all have a certain level of quality that can't be overlooked. Not you! As for the remaining shows, I would understand somebody picking any of them, but my pick would have to be Chainsaw Man. Look, I've been told I'm a contrarian before, but I don't think that applies here. I really don't know what could possibly be so redeeming for this show. I've tried watching reviews to understand, but they really all seem to feed into the hype. Personal opinion alert, but the characters really fucking suck. They all act moody and disinterested. If I wanted to watch people be like that, I'd just join a Discord e-dating server. I think the reason the show ends up taking the win, I don't know, is because of how it seems to miss everything that the manga does really well. The comedy doesn't even land when it's voice acted in such a dull way and doesn't have the snappiness of the paneling. The bonuses it does get from being an anime just don't make up for it either. The fights feel so fucking slow, and the rotoscope's walks make me uncomfortable. It seems like Mappa was trying to make the show feel real, but I don't watch anime to watch people move like real people. I like the over-the-top animation, the squash and stretch, not this. You might say, well, Evane, it's your fault for letting the manga hype up your expectations, but I don't think it did. Anytime someone tried to talk to me about Chainsaw Man, I kind of changed the topic. I was afraid of exactly that happening, so I avoided it. I think my feelings about the show are genuine, especially since it seems that it's not just me that feels that way. The people I knew that were excited for the show coming out are also very disappointed. All those things put together, I really think that Chainsaw Man is the most overhyped anime. But let me know what you think. Comment below and let me know what show you'd pick and why. But that'll do it for me. Drop a sub, it really does help, and you'll know when I upload next. Peace.